When I opened my mountain house door, I found my daughter-in-law's parents sitting on my couch like they owned it. I didn't scream. I smiled, hit record, and started gathering proof. That moment changed everything, because the real storm hadn't even begun. The drive up County Road 18 always felt like a trip back into myself. The frost sparkled on the meadow grass, and the thin mountain air had that clean snap that clears the head better than any sermon. I rolled the window down just enough to smell pine and wet earth. My old knees complained when I hit the brake on the first curve, but I smiled through it. 68 and still driving the same SUV I'd bought brand new. I was headed to my cabin, my peace, the place I'd built after Harold passed. Folks think peace is a place. Turns out it's a practice. I'd spent my life practicing calm in a loud world. All I wanted was a weekend to unclench my jaw, brew mint tea, and sort my mail by the fire. Half a mile out, something caught my eye. Fresh tire ruts on the gravel road, wider than mine. The sight gave me a strange pinch inside, like a song slightly off key. I slowed down, following the uneven tracks until my cabin came into view. The porch light glowed a steady amber, though I always kept it on motion mode. A small wind chime swung near the door, brass instead of the cedar one Harold had hung. The air smelled faintly of citrus cleaner instead of my usual lavender spray. "Something's off. Lucinda?" I murmured. Eyes up, hands steady. The parcel box lid was crooked, and the recycling bin had been moved to the wrong side of the steps, on the gravel. A cigarette butt rested near the welcome mat. I hadn't allowed smoking here since 2012. I texted Rowan. "My son arrived safe. All good?" No reply. That silence had become its own language lately. I carried my grocery bag to the porch and reached for the ring of brass keys that had opened that door since the closing day. I said aloud, to no one but the pine trees. "I paid every nail in this house, and I winterized this roof myself." The wind seemed to agree. The first key turned only halfway, then jammed. I frowned, tried another, same catch. The lock plate shone newer. Its screws too clean, too silver, someone had replaced it. 2 scuff marks marred the doormat, one from a high heel, another from a man's work boot. A single speck of glitter clung to the mat, catching the light like it belonged there. "No, ma'am," I whispered. "Not today. Not in my house." I took out my phone and snapped photos. The lock, the mat, the porch light, the tire ruts. I recorded a quick voice memo. Arrived 5:12 p.m. Lock appears changed. When I pressed the doorbell, the tone sounded different, deeper. My chest tightened. I called Rowan, voicemail. I left a message steady as a heartbeat. "Hey honey, I'm here at Silver Valley. Looks like somebody changed the lock. Call me by 7. I texted Vera, my daughter-in-law. "Did you change the lock at the cabin?" The 3 dots popped up, then vanished. Older folks, listen. When you feel pushed to the edge, paper beats, shouting. I'd learned that the hard way. I sat on the porch swing, cold air wrapping around me. A grocery receipt fluttered under the mat. I picked it up, dated 2 days ago, signed V. My pulse steadied, not fast, not slow. I noticed movement inside, a shadow, a flicker of light. I stood, squared my shoulders, and pressed the bell again. This time, footsteps approached, the porch bulb flickered, and someone spoke from inside, a young woman's voice, crisp and sure. "If it's the neighbor, don't open." I took 1 step closer to the door, my tone low but clear. "This is Lucinda Harrow. Open my door." The deadbolt clicked, the door cracked just 2 inches, spilling warm air and the smell of lemon soap. Behind it stood a woman I'd never seen before, eyes bright, smile thin. She looked me straight on and said, calm as Sunday, "You're not supposed to be here." The woman on my porch smiled like she'd rehearsed it. Behind her, the lights of my own living room glowed too warm, too comfortable for strangers. I steadied my voice. "This is my home. Step aside." She didn't move. The wine glass in her hand trembled just enough to show nerves beneath that smooth exterior. "You're not supposed to be here," she repeated. Her tone held the confidence of someone who believed a lie long enough to mistake it for truth. I lifted my phone chest high, red light blinking. "For my records," I said. "When you get to be my age, you don't do shouting, you do documenting." I saw my throw blanket folded over the couch, my photos gone from the wall, and coats I didn't recognize hanging by the door. Somewhere in the kitchen. A television mumbled about football, and a laugh that wasn't mine echoed off the tile. I stepped forward. Slow but certain. "Vera, step aside." She flinched at her name, proving what I already knew. She hadn't expected me. I took a single picture of the entryway, the new clock on the wall, my empty picture frame stacked on a chair. 2 older adults peeked from the hallway, her parents, I guessed. They looked like guests who'd overstayed their welcome. "You've been gone for months," Vera said, her voice rising. "We needed the space." Rowan said it was fine. I met her gaze. Need isn't permission. Kindness isn't ownership. I made sure the words were clear in the video recording. My crochet basket sat stuffed in a storage bin. The toolbox Harold left me was missing. I named each item aloud for the camera. Every syllable its own quiet defense. "I'm the titled owner," I said evenly. "No one changes locks without authorization. I won't argue. I'll document." I listed damages, missing items, and the replaced lock plate. Vera tried for a smirk. "Family shares things," she said. "What's yours is ours," I smiled back. "Family runs on respect and receipts." Her parents shifted behind her, caught between shame and complicity. "Do you have a lease or written permission signed by me?" I asked. Silence. I requested access to my credenza. Vera hesitated, then stepped aside just enough. I opened the drawer, found the red strap folder with my deed copies and property taxes, and placed them flat on the coffee table under the lamp. Vera raised her phone, recording me now, her voice dripping condescension. "Ma'am, you're trespassing." I didn't blink. Words don't rewrite deeds. I held my paperwork up for the lens. "Paper beats drama," her mother muttered. "Maybe we should call the police." Vera didn't wait. She hit speaker, dialing 911. "There's an elderly woman breaking into our home," she said, shaky but deliberate, when the dispatcher asked for names. I stepped closer. "Lucinda Harrow, owner of record," I said calmly. "Requesting police as witnesses for a property dispute." I read out my parcel number and tax ID. The dispatcher paused, then confirmed both callers. The air thickened. I told them all to wait in the living room, not to touch anything. "Doors to bedrooms stay open until officers arrive," I added. Vera's father started to protest, but I raised my phone again. "This is being recorded," I texted my neighbor. "Mabel, police en route. Eyes up, please." Then I sat in my own armchair, the one they'd pushed aside for a folding table, and laid my papers in plain sight. "If you can't stand the truth," I murmured, "get some shade," Vera whispered to her parents, their voices hushed but sharp. I stayed quiet, the ticking wall clock marking each second of their discomfort. I called Rowan. Voicemail again. "Son," I said, "officers are coming. We'll sort it right. Love doesn't mean you co-sign your own disappearance." I set my phone down, took another photo of the new Bluetooth speaker someone had placed on my credenza. "Don't touch those frames," I said when Vera's mother reached toward a box. "Respect isn't rented by the weekend." Outside, sirens began to climb the valley. Someone shut a bedroom door. "Wrong move. Leave it open," I instructed. My voice didn't rise, but it filled the space like wind through pines. When the knock came, I rose before anyone else. 2 officers stepped in, eyes scanning the room. Vera spoke first. She barged in. "She's confused." I met their gaze, deed in hand. "I'm Lucinda Harrow. This is my home." The senior officer studied the documents, the new lock plate, and the uneasy faces around him. He set his hand on his belt, eyes narrowing. "Let's start with ownership," he said quietly, "because that answers everything else." The officers stood just inside the doorway, the chill from outside still clinging to their jackets. I placed my documents flat on the coffee table. Deed copy. Tax receipt. Utility bill. Driver's license. Each item had its own date and signature, and I said them all out loud so their body cams would catch every word. The senior officer read the address, matching it against the one on his clipboard. The younger one scanned the walls, pausing at the fresh lock and the blank spaces where my pictures had hung. I asked for their badge numbers and repeated them into my phone's audio note. "If you can't prove it, Maz," I said. "Don't say it." My tone wasn't sharp, just final. "Now, who here has written permission? Who changed that lock? And who moved my property?" The older officer raised a brow as I pointed to the parcel number on my deed. "Matches county records," he murmured. I opened another folder, showing 12 months of utility bills in my name. The junior officer took photos for the report. I scrolled to the timestamp pictures I'd taken earlier. Missing photos, wine stains, unfamiliar shoes, and described each for the record. "That thermostat's been changed, and that Bluetooth speaker isn't mine," I said, tapping the serial number label. The officer nodded, jotting notes. Vera tried to cut in. "We had a family agreement." The officer looked at her. "Put that in writing?" She faltered. "It was understood," he said flatly. "Understanding isn't legal." I marked the credenza drawer where my files had been kept, unbroken until tonight. Vera stepped forward, voice trembling just enough to sound coached. "We were told she'd be gone for months." "Told by whom?" I asked. "Rowan," she whispered, eyes darting to her parents. "Then put his name on the record." The officer wrote it down. I kept my finger on the deed, steady as stone. "My age doesn't blur my ink," I said quietly, meeting Vera's stare. The room went still except for the hum of the refrigerator. I unlocked my phone and showed the log of unanswered calls to Rowan and the short, evasive texts. "Busy, don't come up." I sent screenshots to the officer's phone and to the case email he gave me. "Here's one." I read aloud. "We'll be up there with Vera's folks. It's fine." The officer's pen froze mid-line. "Who's we?" "My son, Rowan Hale." I didn't blink. "Please note the occupants refused to give their full names." He nodded. "No lease, no license, no written permission." I added. I drew a breath and set my boundary. "You'll collect your personal items only. No overnight stay." I informed them I'd seek criminal trespass review if advised, and civil damages for the altered lock. The senior officer's tone stayed neutral. "We'll supervise." I read the statute number from my printout. "Respect isn't a weekend rental, Vera's parents shifted, pretending not to hear. She muttered. "Rowan will fix this." The officer offered to call Rowan himself. Voicemail again. He left a message. "Mr. Hale, we're at your property dispute. Please call." I recorded his words for my record. I felt the ache rise but pressed it down. Vera scoffed. "She's making a show," the officer said. "No, ma'am, she's documenting." Through the front window, I saw Mabel's porch light blink twice. Our quiet signal. The officer turned back to Vera's family. "Who changed the lock?" Silence. Her father rubbed his shoulder. Her mother looked at the floor. "We felt unsafe," Vera blurted. "Feeling is an authority," the officer said, marking his report. "Miss Harrow will note you've resumed possession." I straightened. "Acknowledged." Then he closed his notebook, his expression firm. "Here's how this is going to go." Vera inhaled, ready to protest. I folded my hands and looked him in the eye. "You'll collect your things under our supervision," he said slowly. "Then you'll leave. Now." Officer Reyes laid it out plain. "Each of you will pack one room at a time. Personal items only. Clothes, medications, IDs, nothing that belongs to Mrs. Harrow leaves this house." His tone was clipped but polite. I nodded, starting a new video on my phone. "For my records," I said. The officer stood in frame as I panned the living room. "We'll do this decent and in daylight manners. Even if it's night." Vera crossed her arms. "What about our groceries?" I kept my voice steady. "Perishables can go. Bag them. I'll record as you leave." I asked for one final pass of every room before doors were shut. Officer Talbot agreed, her flashlight already sweeping corners. Reyes asked again. Who changed the lock? Vera's eyes darted to Joe. He hesitated, then muttered. I paid cash at Ace. I raised a brow. Which Ace? His answer came too fast. Off County 12. The officer wrote it down. Only the one who bought the hardware would know that store. Admission of alteration, Reyes said for the camera. I photographed the new strike plate, the old screws they'd left in a dish. You're making this ugly, Vera snapped. I replied, calm as ever. I didn't move a single screw in your house. The officers exchanged a glance. Reyes said firmly, tampering with an owner-occupied property can lead to charges. Silence finally fell. In the guest bedroom, Luann folded laundry into a small duffel. I stood by the doorway, watching every item. Check under the bed, I said softly. She found my mother's quilt stuffed into a tote. That stays, I told her, lifting it gently. This never leaves this house. Vera tried to claim the Bluetooth speaker on the dresser. Officer Talbot asked for a receipt. Vera had none. Paper first, then feelings, I said. My boxed photos sat in the closet, dust along their edges. Talbot filmed the condition before sealing the door. My phone buzzed. Mabel's text. A video of Vera unloading decor that morning, time-stamped and clear as daylight. Her voice in the clip said, Rowan said, use it. I showed it to Talbot, who airdropped it to the report file. I added a screenshot from the HOA portal. My name, my email. No guest permit on record. Vera whispered to Joe, why would she save all that? Because I learned to. I said. Officer Reyes nodded. Documentation beats recollection. Keep moving. As we passed in the hall, Vera muttered, at her age, she should be in assisted living anyway. I stopped, turned halfway, and met her gaze. At my age, I own this deed and my piece. Choose your next sentence wisely. Her mouth opened, but Reyes motioned us forward. I didn't linger. Into my recorder, I said, derogatory age remark, did not engage. We can be kind without being a doormat. Outside. The night air bit sharper. Joe stacked 3 duffels by their sedan. I checked zippers while Officer Reyes verified contents. Luann pointed to a gray throw. Can I take this one? No, I said. It's part of my set. You can have a spare from downstairs. The porch light hummed above us, bright and unblinking. Mabel stood across the road, phone angled, silent witness. Vera demanded 5 more minutes to check the office. Office is locked, I replied. We're done. Talbot set her timer. You've got 8 minutes to close this out. I faced my camera once more. I'll rekey tonight and file a written trespass warning. DA will review the lock tampering. I held up the bag of screws for proof. Reyes handed me the incident number card. I read it aloud. Clear for the log, Vera muttered. Rowan will fix this tomorrow, I answered. Tomorrow. He uses the front door and the truth. Boundaries aren't personal. They're policy. Then, a low hum rolled through the valley. 2 headlights cut across the ridge, pausing on the road. Vera's chin lifted. See, she whispered. I steadied my hands, tucking my deed folder under one arm. Those aren't the police, I said quietly, watching the lights crawl closer. The headlights didn't move for a long minute. Their beams spread across the pines. Steady and silent, I squinted through the porch window and recognized the shape. A Ford with a ladder rack. Not the sheriff's SUV. It idled as though waiting for a cue. The air had that mountain cold that bites at the joints. I stepped back inside, locking the door, slid the deed and the officer's incident card into my office safe, and spoke into my recorder. Timestamp, 10:05 p. Outside, the porch camera light blinked red, still rolling. Mabel stayed across the road, steady as a sentinel, phone to her ear as she talked with the HOA hotline. Inside, Vera whispered into her phone near the window. Joe's thumbs flew over his screen, and Luann clutched her tote against her chest like it held her whole life. I steadied my breath, that old saying running through my mind. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. If that's a friend of theirs, I told Officer Reyes quietly, we'll keep it civil and on camera. Then the lights flickered. A moment later, the heater cut off. The house sighed into silence. My phone chimed with a power company alert. Someone had submitted a move-out under my name for tonight. I opened the app, reactivated my account, and took screenshots of every data point, IP address, timestamp, and session ID. Sent it all straight to the incident thread. Vera saw me working and changed tactics fast. She's confused, she told Officer Talbot. She forgets things. I turned, still holding my phone steady. My mortgage autopay hasn't missed since 2001. My utilities, same name, same dates, same address. The only thing I forget is to tolerate lies. Mabel texted me a screenshot, Vera's half-written next-door post calling me unstable. Captured just before deletion. I saved it too. Officer Reyes's patience snapped thin. Tampering with utilities to intimidate a homeowner can fall under criminal harassment, he said evenly. Vera blinked fast, her mouth tightening. The hum of the refrigerator returned. Power restored. Control returned. In the office, I began what I do best. Organize. Deed copy on the left. HOA confirmations in the center. Utility logs and Mabel's video on the right. Bagged screws and strike plate photo front and center. I enabled iCloud sharing, giving the officers read-only access. Paper doesn't panic, I said out loud, marking a manila folder, civil possession trespass. Each sound, the stamp, the click of the safe, brought my pulse back down. The porch camera chimed again. I looked up at the monitor and saw Rowan's truck beside the Ford. My son was walking up the steps. He came in like a storm, trying to look like a man. Breathless, coat half-zipped, paper in his hand. I brought proof, he said, waving a printout. You signed this, Mom. His voice cracked at Mom. I took it, unfolded it, and held it beneath the foyer lamp. The signature was too perfect, flat, digital, copied. I went to the filing cabinet, pulled my 2018 church scholarship letter, and laid the two side by side. Even the ink specks matched. You copied my church letterhead signature, I said quietly. He looked stunned that I saw it that fast. Officer Talbot took photos of both. I emailed the original PDF to the report thread. Vera sputtered. She probably forgot signing something. I looked her dead in the eye. I forget nothing I notarize. Rowan swallowed hard, mumbling. Vera handled the paperwork. That single line landed like a confession. Minutes later, new headlights appeared. The APS van. Adult Protective Services, Reyes said. Someone called about an elderly woman in distress. I almost laughed. Weaponized wellness checks, I murmured. I met the APS worker at the door, handed over my ID, my healthcare directive, my recent cognitive screening, and a trustee letter from my attorney. She read quickly, nodding. You're perfectly fine, ma'am. The radio on her shoulder crackled. The caller's number came from Vera's phone. I added malicious report to my growing list. Concern without consent is control, I said as she walked away. Vera's mouth hung open, searching for sympathy that no one offered. I turned back inside. Midnight, this porch is clear. Anything left goes to the curb at dawn. Rowan looked exhausted, his face pale. Please, just one night, he said. I pulled a prepaid motel card from my drawer and handed it over with a printed list. That's compassion, not permission, I told him. Joe tried to drift toward my office, but Talbot blocked the way. Closed area, she said firmly. Luann stood trembling near the hall. Could I at least take that gray blanket? No, I answered. That's my mother's set. Take the spare from the basement. She nodded, almost grateful. I sat back down, printing no guest access, owner present sheets for every door. Locksmith confirmed 6:45 a.m. arrival. Tro filing queued for 7:30. I sent copies of both confirmations to the incident log. Plan the work, then work the plan, I whispered. Outside, Mabel waved once to show she'd left her porch camera aimed my way for the night. By the time they carried the last duffel out, the air had cooled to the edge of frost. Rowan lingered, sliding an envelope onto the porch rail. You'll want to see this before court, he said, voice low. Vera hissed his name, but he stepped back. When they drove off, I picked up the envelope. Inside, a cashier's check for $10,000 and a small brass key I didn't recognize. I turned it over in my palm, its teeth catching the porch light. Something about its weight felt like trouble. "Whose door does this open?" I whispered to the empty air, locking the door behind me. The house was silent except for the hum of the porch light. I stood under the foyer lamp, slid open Rowan's envelope, and pulled out a USB drive, a cashier's check, and a stack of printed transfers, his account to Vera's Zelle. The handwriting on the memo read, "Repayment, utilities, and food." I turned to my phone's recorder. 12:10 a chain of custody opened on camera. Officer Reyes stood beside me, body cam blinking red. "You witnessing this?" I asked. He nodded, noting it under the incident number. "If it isn't written," I said, "it didn't happen." The check felt clean, but that brass key still in my pocket felt like heat. I wasn't ready to test it. Not yet. I opened the laptop, the same one that Vera had mocked last summer for being too old to sync. The USB came alive in seconds. Folder 1, a ring cam export from the week I was abroad. The video showed Vera changing my deadbolt, narrating a draft for a new home reveal TikTok. I muted it and let the images speak. Folder 2 held screenshots of utility portal attempts from Vera's IP, the same address that had scheduled tonight's move-out. Folder 3, Rowan's bank records with recurring rent share transfers. "Rent," I said quietly. "Without a lease." I mirrored the USB feed to the TV. The living room became a courtroom. No one spoke. Only the whir of the heater returned. Joe cursed under his breath. Luann clutched her tote like a shield. Vera whispered, "That's taken out of context." Officer Talbot didn't blink. "Ma'am, that's your face changing the lock." Mabel arrived wrapped in her robe, papers in hand. "OA bylaws," she said. "No known owner occupancy beyond 72 hours without written consent." She slid the printed page to Reyes and emailed the timestamp PDF. Everett, from 2 cabins down, sent over a cell video. Joe and Luann hauling in a mattress the prior week. I watched the color drain from Vera's cheeks. "Folks," I said, "you turned my home into a weekend rental with better lighting." Reyes jotted notes while Talbot radioed dispatch for standby clearance. I called Pastor Lenora next. Her voice crackled through the speaker, warm but sharp with disbelief. "You're telling me they used church records?" I explained the forged guest agreement, reading the date and file number. She opened the 2018 PDF from her archive, read the notarized line aloud, and gasped. "That's the same signature you signed for the scholarship fund," she said. "They scanned it 2 months ago," I reminded her. When Vera asked for a reference copy, Pastor promised to send an affidavit before dawn. "A forgery isn't a misunderstanding," I said to no one in particular. "It's a decision," Joe muttered. "This just got federal kind stupid." Reyes stepped forward. "Who placed the APS call earlier?" Vera exhaled through her teeth. "We were worried. She wanders at night." Reyes's voice flattened. "APS cleared her in 10 minutes. "You knew that?" The camera caught her face full on when she said, "Fine, and we needed leverage." Talbot didn't hide her reaction. "That's an admission," she said softly. Then, "To the room. With forged consent and lock tampering, you vacate now or face trespass charges." I spoke evenly. 15 minutes. Personal items only. Nothing from the office or attic. Rowan nodded. Luann began crying into her scarf. Joe puffed his chest, then sat when Talbot stepped closer. Vera hissed, "We'll be back with a real lawyer." I met her eyes. "Bring an honest one." They packed under supervision, each tote logged and filmed. I stood at the doorway, checking items against my list. When Vera reached for my grandmother's quilt, Reyes intervened. "Heirloom, not personal property." I left the motel list and gift card on the porch table. "Mercy with paperwork," I said, and meant it. Rowan paused beside me. "I'll text you about the key." "Text the officers, too," I answered. By 1:45, the house was nearly quiet again. My phone pinged. County portal confirmation, TRO hearing scheduled for 8:30. I printed the notice, slid it into the evidence folder, and added the locksmith's ETA, 6:45 sharp, with a request for police presence. Mabel promised to keep her doorbell camera facing my drive until sunrise. Reyes sealed the USB in a tamper bag, and I signed across the strip. Just after 2, my phone buzzed again. Rowan's text read, "Key equal, sign basement crawl space padlock. Beam 3, Vera's stash." I went to the hallway hatch, the flashlight trembling only because my hands were cold. Dust covered everything, except for one small brass lock on a crossbeam. The key turned easily. Beneath the hatch sat a hard black case with a strip of masking tape. On it, in Vera's handwriting, was my name. I crouched there, the quiet of the house pressing in, knowing whatever sat inside that case would end the guessing. I drew one breath, steady and deliberate, and whispered, "What did she hide under my floor?" When I opened that hard case, the smell of old paper and metal filled the crawl space. I clicked both latches, steady as prayer. Inside sat a yellow legal pad covered in Vera's handwriting. Dates, arrows, her move-in timeline. Each line was precise. Lock swap, Friday 6 pp 10 me. APS call, backup plan. HELOC draw, 3 p.m. all written like it was a checklist for theft. Beneath it, a HELOC draw request pre-filled with my property address, waiting for e-signature. The next page chilled me, a quitclaim draft transferring the house to a Shell LLC. My late husband's 2016 deed addendum lay folded beside it. House to remain separate property. No transfers without Lucinda's written consent. His initials were there, notarized, a whisper from the grave saying, "Hold your ground. I found a slim USB labeled pre-approval, containing a forged owner consent PDF. Identical to the ones we exposed last night. I stacked everything neatly, photographed each item, and told myself, if you're organized, you're already halfway to justice." Officer Reyes stood by as I resealed the bag for chain of custody. In the kitchen, I brewed coffee strong enough to wake resolve itself. My table looked like a small war room. Folders, printouts, receipts. I drafted a one-page timeline. Entry, lock swap, TikTok video, APS ploy, forged consent, HELOC fraud, now scheduled to hit at 3 p.m. Emmy. I texted Attorney Coyle with photos and bullet points. His auto reply read, "Call at 7:15 a.m. I scheduled a 9:15 appointment at Mesa Ridge Bank to freeze the draw. Then I filled out a property owner declaration, the same form Coyle taught us at the church pantry clinic, and signed it bold. No lease, no consent, no power of attorney. By dawn, I built a witness packet for court, HOA bylaw page, ring stills, Pastor Lenora's affidavit, body cam transcript. Your Honor, I rehearsed softly. I'm not here to argue feelings. I'm here with receipts. At 6:45, the locksmith arrived. Officer Reyes and Mabel joined me by the porch. We replaced every lock, front, back, office door, and set a new guest code for Rowan only. Mabel swapped the SD card in my porch cam, handing me the old one in a sealed envelope. "Make it loud if they try again," I told the locksmith. "Wes," he smiled, installing a glass break sensor. Before he left, I taped a sign on the door. Private residence. No entry without owner present. My house exhaled relief. At 7:15, Attorney Coyle called. His voice was brisk but warm. "You've got gold. Lucinda, that 2016 addendum is your firewall." He walked me through my next steps. Bring the notarized copy to court. File a fraud hold before that HELOC hits. Say it calm, no contact, no occupancy, no encumbrance. Judges like quiet people with neat folders. He dictated my voicemail script for the mortgage broker. Owner disputes consent, no processing without live verification. "Got it," I said, typing word for word. By 8:05, I was at the courthouse with Mabel and Rowan. We handed the clerk our packets. Vera arrived moments later, in a red blazer and false confidence. Her lawyer looked barely awake. "We tell the truth today," I told Rowan. "Yes, ma'am," he answered. When the judge called us, I stepped forward. "Yes. Your Honor, I seek temporary orders for occupancy and no contact." My voice didn't shake. Exhibit after exhibit slid across the table. HOA rulebook, ring still, the 2016 addendum, Pastor Lenora's affidavit. Vera began her caretaker story until the judge cut her off. APS cleared her same night, he said. Sit. Then I produced the HELOC form from the case. The judge's brow rose. Time stamped for today, fraud hold granted, TRO issued, no contact, no entry, no encumbrance. He looked at Vera. Paper beats story. By 9:20 at the bank, I filed the fraud alert and handed over the TRO. The manager called legal and froze the draw. I appreciate sunlight. I told him, please note every reference number. He smiled, printing a confirmation slip. I placed it neatly in my folder. Driving home, I called my grandson, Caleb. Grandma's okay, I said. Good paper, better God. His laugh loosened the weight on my chest. Mercy with paperwork. It still worked. At 2:30, my phone buzzed again. Broker email pending wire canceled, but a new draw requested via online notary at 2:55. Attached was Vera's calendar invite for a seller consult at 3:30. I looked at Rowan. We end this today. Clean. He nodded. I started the car. My folder buckled in beside me like family. At 2:44 p.m., I'd be staring into a camera, ready to end the lie before it stole my roof. At 2:44 p.m., I sat in front of my laptop. ID held steady to the camera. The notary greeted me with her polite script, but my voice was sharper than coffee. Please verify that the property owner is present, I said, looping in Mesa Ridge Bank's legal department as Coyle instructed. The KBA questions rolled. Old addresses, auto loan year, last digits of my SSN. I answered each one clean. Then, a second profile tried to join as owner. The system pinged a warning. Duplicate IP, registered to Vera's phone. I looked right into the webcam. I am Lucinda Harrow, sole owner of this property. I do not consent to any lien or encumbrance. The notary stopped typing. The bank's attorney came online, confirmed the fraud freeze, and read the new restriction. No further e-notary activity on my account. Permanent, case number logged. I saved the session video, emailed it to Coyle and Officer Reyes, then said to the camera, paper beats story. Baby, every time. I texted Rowan. Done. Come home. At 3:30 sharp, a silver SUV rolled up my drive, short-term rental rep, clipboard in hand. You here for onboarding? I asked. Yes, ma'am. We have your house scheduled. He froze when I handed him the TRO and my declaration. Proceed. And you're aiding a fraud. His eyes widened. Oh, we'll cancel right now. He snapped photos for his records and sent me the cancel ID. I forwarded it to Coyle and the bank. I left Vera a single voicemail. Do not step on my porch. Court said so. My tone was calm, like weather after a storm. By 4, Mabel and Officer Reyes met me at the Fairmont Spring Storage Facility. The clerk recognized the receipt number from the hard case. Access today, 3:10 p.m., by Vera Langdon. He said, we opened the locker. There were my quilts, my late husband's tools, labeled kitchen bins, and a stack of old mail with my name still visible. Reyes documented every item, snapping photos as I checked boxes off my list. Joe and Luann appeared, defensive at first, but when Reyes read the TRO terms, their shoulders slumped. Return my things, I said quietly. Keep your excuses. As we drove back, Rowan forwarded an email thread synced from Vera's family help account. Her words leapt off the screen. Once the lien hits, she'll have to sell or cave. Attached was a Canva flyer, my Mountain View photo, captioned, Retreat Property for Executive Clients. Another email from Luann read, APS was just leverage. I saved every file, printed one clean copy for Rowan, and said, this is not your fault. It never was. He looked at me with tears that didn't need falling. At the emergency HOA meeting that evening, I showed 3 slides, the deed addendum, the lock change photo, and the leverage email. Neighbors, I said, please stop opening doors for folks who just sound like family. Verify first. The room went still. Mabel spoke up. Lucinda's right. The HOA president promised tighter code access, and Pastor Lenora rested her hand on my shoulder. You did right, child. I nodded. Tired but steady. Back home. I logged into the court portal. Coyle joined the video call. We filed civil claims for conversion, attempted fraud, and civil theft. Every document had its place. Video, receipts, screenshots. I will not be harassed in my own home. I read into the recorder. He smiled. You're setting the bar. Lucinda. As twilight settled, I changed the keypad code, Rowan's name only. I called Caleb. He played his choir solo over speaker. That same soft strength my husband once had. Grandma's safe now, I said. Good paper, better God. I placed the 2016 deed addendum in a new frame beside my husband's photo. Some victories don't roar, they hum. Before bed. I filed a certified demand to Vera's LLC and an intake report with the DA's office. I locked the hard case in my closet safe beside old choir programs. On the porch, the mountain dusk turned lavender. My camera's red light blinked like a heartbeat. Mercy with paperwork, boundaries with locks, love with facts. A knock echoed. A process server handed me an envelope, Vera's countersuit. Elder exploitation by intimidation. I smiled, took the papers, and said, discovery will be a blessing. As the porch light flickered against the mountain dusk, I set 2 cups on the table, one for tea, one for truth. The envelope from Vera's countersuit lay unopened between them. My phone buzzed. A new message from an unknown number. You think it's over? I smiled. We'll see.